So, yet another legend member segment. We're bringing back Will. So, Will, it is wonderful to have you back. Bro, what are we talking about today? What's the segment today?
Thank you for having me, Johnny. I just wanted to ask, just more out of curiosity, whatever happened to rivalries in the NBA? It seems like the only long-standing one, realistically, if you could call it that, is Lakers versus Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I have so many thoughts on this. I'm almost kind of bummed that I didn't make it this an individual video like before, before we turn this
Oh
into a
no.
segment. Like I would have could have made this one of my regular videos. I think there's a few things, and then I'll pass it over to Russell, Dario, whoever wants it. Personally, I think shorter NBA contracts play a part because now the max time that a guy is with the team under one contract is 5 years. You know, when Kobe signed a big long term deal with the Lakers in the 2000s, it was 8 years. Back when MJ did it in the 80s, it was 9 years. Magic Johnson signed a 25-year, $25 million contract to be with the Lakers, and so being with one team and being known for being with that one team and building that animosity between other guys who are the stars of their own teams, I think that plays a part of it. I think the other part of it has to do with the refereeing and basically the post Malice of the Palace era, where I mean referees. I think most of us can agree that like referees are just a pain in the butt recently. Like they don't want any sort of tension. They don't want any sort of trash talking. There's a technical foul every here and there, and sometimes just like they'll give away. Like Giannis was just standing in a post the other day, and they called an offensive foul on him when there was like no contact whatsoever. I think the refs are taking not just a lot of the excitement, but a lot of the fun out of the league as well. And so there's not able like teams aren't able to establish those rivalries as much because again, guys aren't on the same teams as much. Like when it was KD and like take KD and Westbrook for example. When KD was with the Warriors and when Westbrook was with the Thunder, that was like the perfect situation for like, he called him a cupcake. That he used to be a part of that team. Now he's seen as a traitor, that sort of thing. How
Mm,
many teams have they been a part of since then? So like
sure.
a lot of that identity and that core of what made that relationship and that rivalry so intense is kind of gone now. So I don't know, Russell, Dario, what do you guys think about that? And just about the
Uh,
topic.
I guess I have more questions for Will. I guess my questions for Will would be for you, what constitutes a rivalry? Because I think that's the best way to attack this in terms of like
Sure.
my actual opinion on it.
Can I
So
add
what
a question
constitutes
to
a
that
rivalry to
too?
you?
Just
Go
just to
ahead.
make sure. Um, Also, is this strictly just team rivalries, or are we talking about player rivalries as well?
It is. I am putting a focus on team rivalries,
Okay.
more or less, rather than player rivalries. Because I think team rivalries are. I don't want to say I prefer the notion of team rivalries, but I prefer team rivalries over player rivalries, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
Sure.
As for what constitutes a rivalry, um, I think it's difficult to define. It's more a case of there's a lot of history there. The teams genuinely want to beat each other no matter the stakes. In soccer, if you think about something like Real Madrid versus Barcelona,
Mm.
that's precisely what I think of when I think of a rivalry.
Yeah.
There's history there. They've gone at each other's throats more or less over many, many meetings. It can be a league game, it can be a cup game, it can be a Champions League game. They want to beat each other more than any other team, all the same. Um, so that's kind of what constitutes a rivalry for me. Doesn't necessarily have to be and doesn't necessarily have to be violence there or anything like that.
Sure.
I'm not asking basketball
We
fans
want
to get like.
violence. No, I'm joking.
I
Sure.
mean, I'm not asking basketball fans to be like soccer fans because that that could be both a good and bad thing. We don't need
Sure.
to see flares anywhere.
Yeah.
Sure.
We don't need to see players elbowing each other in like the face and losing teeth and playing through bloody mouths or anything like that.
Sure.
But more or less, that's what constitutes a rivalry for myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you go ahead. Dario, go ahead. Take it. Go
Yeah.
for it.
Okay. 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 Cool. So
Yeah, I thought so.
I know you mentioned you don't want to see blood, but honestly, the best rivalries come with they come with that. Lakers, Celtics, all the bloody fights, everything. Come on, that was awesome. But
Fair.
all right, I guess like Johnny said, with players jumping around, it makes it harder to have those team rivalries. But we still kind of got him a little bit, especially throughout the last, I would say, 20 years. You had, the Warriors, Cavs. They met in the finals 4 straight times, I think, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it was 4
yeah.
straight.
So that there was a rivalry there, and then I would say the Lakers Spurs had a rivalry.
That's further back, but yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think Spurs Miami was a rivalry too, to be honest. Like I really liked that, even though it was
Spurs
brief.
Miami.
But like, that's the thing is like, does it have to go over like half a decade? Does it have to like? That would be the part of it that I would be curious.
Yeah,
of, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that's another thing for me. Because Warriors versus Cavs is like a short snippet in time. Like obviously each decade has their like short signature rivalries. Like obviously,
Sure.
Bulls,
obviously Cavs versus Warriors, Jordan's Bulls versus Ewing's Knicks, things like that. But we're talking long-standing rivalries that span generations. Why hasn't the NBA really got any of those aside from Lakers versus Celtics? What stops it from building them really?
Can I add a little perspective here, a little context? We're talking to Will, who's a big soccer fan and who's used to, like, we talked about this with our dynasties conversation. His idea of a dynasty is a team dominating like their conference or their league or that or league, over like decades. Like literally decades. And so he's coming at it from the idea of a long-lasting rivalry and a long-lasting dynasty. It's a very, very long time. I think in that sense, one of the few that can actually match that are Lakers and Celtics, and maybe like Pistons, Knicks still occasionally have that. Like we get excited about that. We bring in Reggie. There's the oh, sorry, that's what I meant. Pacers, Knicks. Because we bring in Reggie Miller, and there's genuine animosity between the fan bases, like just the way they talk to each other on social media and stuff. Like those fan bases genuinely hate each other, and so I think that's a part of it. But you do have some little short snippet ones, because one of the ones that's pertaining to my team recently was Nuggets and Lakers. I mean, because we beat them that one year, and then after that, Jokic has been like our daddy ever since. But that has been the topic of conversation, like leading up to the season and leading up to every playoffs, is being like, how are we going to deal with the Joker, And so,
I mean, you don't. Joker kind of puts LA in the deep fryer.
Yeah.
so them night breakfast.
Unfortunately, I got to take that, even though we made his heart hurt. He definitely had a game-winning shot in his face, 2020 in the bubble. I'm still remembering this. All right.
I don't think Joker's thinking about us, to be honest. I think he's thinking about the beast in Oklahoma City. That's what I think he's thinking about.
There might be a rivalry coming soon from that, because honestly, So to look at the positives here, right? Because I can see, like, from a team perspective, we probably won't see that, but maybe with the new changes and the second apron and all that stuff, like OKC's built to last for a while. So more than likely, there's gonna have to be a team there rivaling them, going against them during this run. So and we might see that moving forward. But definitely in the last 10, 15 years, I would say it's definitely been more player-based.
That's what I was going to say is, like, I think going to Johnny's point, too, is, like, it's just tough when, there's – and actually, I would disagree. I think all the stuff with the second apron makes all of this much harder, because it's way harder to keep teams together. And I think the key to big rivalries is to constantly have these guys staying together, and that keeps the team good. But the problem is, in this case, I don't really think this is a problem. But the problem with long-standing team rivalries is when you have a guy like Kevin Durant, who, if he just stayed on Golden State, him going to OKC every year would definitely still be a rivalry, especially now that OKC is like really good. So that would have been a rivalry in the Western Conference for the foreseeable future, most likely. But because he then bounces to 6 different other teams,
Yeah.
you don't get that same, and now it's almost like it's the same thing with this man, Vince Carter, when he left Toronto.
Yeah,
like
true.
He burned that bridge. They booed him for decades. So it's more like, it really is. It's more like players versus cities, if anything, and it's because of player empowerment.
Yeah.
We gotta blame LeBron again for this. All right.
It always comes back to LeBron in some way.
Oh no. I was trying to keep him out of it. Oh no.
He's like, I don't want this to turn into. No, I mean, I think it's just like contracts were shrinking before LeBron did what he did, and he was exercising his option to go to another team in his prime, and guys just have more options now, because even though there's 5 years, usually you play like 2 years, and then you get like a player option for the 3rd year, so I mean, like, you're talking about a very short window, and then if a guy really doesn't like the situation, he could play 1 year and then demand a trade because he's got a player option coming up, so they really don't have much of a choice but to trade him. And so, yeah, guys just being all over the place and everything. And but I think you still have them. I think there's still player-to-player rivalries. It's tough, though, because this has been an era of parity, so it's like getting a lot of the same teams on the game's biggest stage has been kind of tough, too, where it's like you might see, like, the foundation of what could be a great rivalry, but then you don't see them in the playoffs playing against each other again. Yeah. Like, how about Luka and Devin Booker, and like that kind of almost short-lived rivalry where he kind of gives him the look after he, has that amazing game on him and everything.
It happened with Clippers Lakers too. Like, we were supposed to meet with them in the playoffs multiple times, and I feel like
it never happened. Yeah, especially after the Kawhi and Paul George thing. It's like we finally get the playoff tunnel battle, and it didn't happen. And so it's tough. You really need like dominant teams and teams to stay together. And so but that's just kind of like where the NBA is now. It's a players league, and so you still have it, but it's player versus player or player versus city,
Russ, I just want to push back a little bit on the second apron take, because
what else is new?
I just think it's crazy to think that that's not going to cause it to be more team oriented than, because it's literally taking away from player empowerment. So like,
you could think that if you want.
That's exactly what it is.
They have to pay more to keep their team together, because as the team stay, like, they don't get rewarded. You don't get rewarded for that additional, like, keeping them. It's not like bird rights where a team gets a little bit extra money and can go over the cap to keep their guys. They almost get punished for paying their guys more. Like, no, but like, think about OKC at some point. Like, a guy like Jalen Williams is going to want the same money or similar to a guy like Shea, right? That's just the way this game works. They're not going to be able to afford that. And if they are, they're going to pay $200 million on the second apron to do it. They're not going to do that. They're just going to let him go. That's why Klay Thompson left the Warriors. It's the same thing. It's like, otherwise they would have just stayed.
Well, I think it forces players' markets.
I think it changes players' markets is what that's going to be, because now those secondary stars that are not true superstars that are making superstar money, I think then kind of get pushed down the rankings, because then those guys are going to be going to the Wizards or like worse organizations that are probably going to just be
there's not many,
but they're still probably going to go though.
Yes, like, but those are the organizations that'll just keep losing, and then I think the ones that are building around those players will have to work within I think those like salary parameters.
So Dario's of the opinion that team rivalries are still very much like in a position where they could be happening, while Russell's not so much.
I think that's what Adam Silver kind of wants.
I agree with both of you to a certain extent. I think there's a little bit of nuance there where it's harder to keep your superstars, but that means that like your key guys, like your cogs, like your 6 men or your really good role players that you could have at a discount, now you got to focus on keeping the essence and the chemistry of the team together rather than just beating people with super teams, because it's going to be hard to make that last over a long period of time. So I think you're both right from different perspectives. So.
Yeah.
What do you think, Will? Do you think that player like a Jalen Williams, like that second tier star, that beta guy, do you think he'd be more likely to stay with his team, or do you think he'd be more likely to go take the money somewhere else? I want to know.
Catching strays though, Beta. Like, why do you get?
I want to know what he
I mean,
thinks. You're gonna call
Second
Jalen
in
Williams
command.
an alpha dog? He's definitely not that. That would be
I mean,
Shea.
he's not that.
So,
He's not that. He's going somewhere else.
thank you.
He's going somewhere
Of
else.
course he is.
Unfortunately, I mean, then they sure as heck not going to be able to keep him. I mean, what are they paying Shea students? 70 million a year
They just
over
paid him.
that student? Yeah,
They just
Yeah,
paid
they-
Jalen
It's just like-
Williams and
yeah, but they're not going to be able to sustain that. They're not going.
depends
To
on
be
if
That's
he,
able.
what I'm
I think
saying.
if he takes the next leap, yeah.
Sure.
It's just tough. It's tough to keep all those guys together all the time, especially because that was the thing about the 80s is like it was the opposite. You could keep all these guys together because there really was no
It was
like,
like
They were
it
cheap.
was so different. Yeah. It was so different.
But I'm telling you still, like, they're going to at least keep him together for a couple years, you know, and they're going to bite the bullet, especially
Hopefully,
the way
yeah.
they're dominating right now. They're going to pay the extra money they need to because they are so dominant right now. But
Yeah.
Jokic took them to 7 games last year, and the images of, like, in our heads of, like, how physical that series was, and Alex Caruso going at him, and knowing that right now they're the 2 best teams in the Western Conference, and basically on a collision course again. If they meet up again in these playoffs, it's a rivalry. Like, to me,
it'll be
as
fun.
with that physicality and everything, that's a legit rivalry. And so you got the best player in the game and the best team in the game, and it's probably going to stay that way for a little bit. So I don't know. I'm excited about, you know, this one that we potentially got here today.